Hey everybody, Alex here, healthhacksreview.com, infrared sauna expert and also expert in several other types of healing health equipment. Anyways, this video is on if you're a commercial clinic and or health practitioner, again, serving the public, you have clients, patients, you have to sometimes be a little bit more particular on what kind of sauna you get, but in this video, really, it's specifically focusing on wood type. So it's a pretty short video from the standpoint that the premise is simple. If you're going to be serving of many different sorts of patients, clients who have all kinds of different health conditions, and in that kind of scenario, everybody has a different set of tolerances and needs. And so you're always going to want to kind of err on the side of being extra cautious about construction quality, but also wood type. So what do I mean by wood type and construction quality? Well, quite simply, you want first a sauna, when it comes to its construction, that you are really 100% sure how that sauna is constructed in terms of it being cleanly constructed. So there's no VOCs, there's no type of off-gassing, and generally, instead of just trusting the company, the sauna company, to say, yes, it's very clean, right? Uh, we actually really want to make sure that there's some sort of testing that's showing that, okay? And not just the testing that tests electronic components, because that actually is more of a standard sort of certification that a lot of different companies have, which is good, but there's also additional sort of testing and certification that we'd like to ideally see on the whole indoor air quality cabin, the whole thing put together, turned on, and then have performance testing at that point on the quality of the air, a proper sort of indoor quality air test that like an environmental testing firm might do, for example, would be adequate for checking if literally anything in there from glues, adhesives, wiring, emitters, the wood itself, the assemblage, is emitting any sort of chemicals, okay? So that would be one box that you check off for commercial settings, because again, you might have somebody walk through that door who's very chemically sensitive to all kinds of things, okay? Type of person that can't wear perfumes, walk down a detergent aisle in the supermarket, might have just a lot of major sensitivity issues because of a serious mold issue, whatever it is. Okay, so that's one thing you check off. The other thing is going with a hypoallergenic wood. So there's a lot of misinformation, I guess you could call it, with wood types and what is considered hypoallergenic. The reason is because most saunas, when they're citing on their website, which is quite common, the different list of woods and which are cause inflammation and irritation in the lungs and so on and so forth. Keep in mind that those reports, which every site practically has, is from the wood industry reports, which really are testing that they do every year that has more to do with individuals that work at mills, milling, processing of wood, carpenters, construction, where potentially there can be airborne dust particulate from the wood. And that because of sanding, sawing, all these types of things. So sure, breathing into the lungs all the time, they really have to monitor, should you wear masks if you're processing these types of wood, and there's a lot of that airborne stuff consistently all the time. Absolutely, it can cause problems. Okay, but the point is in a sauna, unless you're power sanding your walls of your sauna all the time, those reports really are not appropriate and really useful. And yet pretty much a lot of sauna companies do cite those reports. Almost likening heating up a wood is the same as airborne dust particulate. It's not the same application or circumstance at all. So it's really quite silly. And really most sites are putting those types of reports out, not really explaining what those originally had to do with for marketing purposes, of course. So they can say, their wood is the best. But But we do know that other than wood particulate and dust-borne and things like that, of those charts, there are woods that are more hypoallergenic, less irritating, for sure. We do have answers. It's just that I wanted to clarify kind of some of the confusing ways they use those wood industry reports. So in general, or specifically, I should really say, the most hyperallergenic woods you'd want to put in a clinic or just any place in a commercial setting where you never know who's going to be using that sauna is aspen wood and basswood. And probably third, and I'm ranking in this order, I'd probably put poplar third, just from the standpoint that even though with some testing and things like that, it is definitely more hypoallergenic than most of the woods out there, for sure. The, the kind of fact or statement that you see out there of it being hypoallergenic across the board, I would say is not exactly true. There is enough subjective feedback over the years that there are sometimes some issues with it, with like itchy eyes and things like that. So what kind of incidence is that at? That's the other thing. How often does that happen? It's very low, maybe 3 to 5%. But so you probably even in a commercial setting won't run across a problem because again, in a commercial setting, a person is not using the sauna there day in and day out for weeks, months, and years, right? So it's different when somebody's a home use model. They're using it all the time for a very long period of time. So the incidence in home use, because of the sheer frequency, potentially could be higher. In a commercial setting, it's pretty darn low. So in other words, there's 3 wood types. If you just go and you focus on those for commercial settings, you're going to be pretty darn safe. And anybody can probably use those saunas. In regards to the other wood types, again, I would say that in commercial settings, the incidence of issues is still also quite low. However, if you're of the mindset where you just want to have that total peace of mind for yourself, your business, and your clients, then I would just focus on those wood types. And again, here's the thing, is sometimes there's some compromises, right? Because we're all trying to juggle all these different criteria. I want this wood type, and I don't want this emitter, but I need this, but I need that, but I not, and here's my budget, and I actually help people figure all that out when they work with me. So you kind of put all this together, and then we kind of figure out if it's really, really crucial, important to get those wood types, especially if you're compromising other aspects of your sauna for your actual needs in your commercial setting. So it was just a very quick commentary on wood types and those types of woods to focus on. I would just make one other quick note is there is a lot of misinformation also about volatile oils coming off of wood. Cedar would obviously be a perfect example. Okay, and it's not just, by the way, woods that have a smell, although usually the woods that have more of a smell do have a little bit more oils in them, but it's not always exactly the case, the correlation. But either way, yeah, volatile oils in general, they are toxic a lot of times to lesser life forms like insects, and things like that, right? What I would say is that, and why I recommend the other 3 woods, is if something is giving off a lot of volatile oils, again, potentially somebody who's having a lot of systemic inflammation, allergies, and chemical sensitivities, potentially, remember I use the word potentially, the volatile oils could irritate that condition more because the person is reacting to all kinds of stuff. And they're just already on that kind of cytokine, pro-inflammatory state all the time. And yeah, sure, you'd want to maybe err on the side of being cautious if it's for commercial application. However, people who have a proper functioning immune system and they're not constantly in systemic inflammation, things like that, in general, immune system will be fine with volatile oils in the air, which are at a very low amount every time you do a sauna session. So remember, dosage is everything. both in a healing response and a stress toxic response, right? So it's an interesting question, and if you really wanted to kind of get to the bottom of some of these companies that try to scare you, and they'll say, watch out for those volatile oils, they're toxic, and I say, well, okay, um, could you show me some airborne analysis tests on exactly what kind of dosage the average person might be getting in their body when they're breathing inside of maybe a 45-minute sauna session to 60-minute sauna session? What kind of dosage, and also what that dosage might be correlated to in terms of levels of inflammation or reactions? And you ask that question, and there will be no data. So, in other words, it's once again another totally unsubstantiated thing that some sauna companies make up. But I'm also not saying that again, an immune system in a highly inflamed state might have a reaction to it, for sure. And of course, a perfect example would be people have cedar allergies, right? That would be not a constant inflamed state that the person's going through or chemical sensitivities, but it would be like more of a specific forming antigens to that specific wood type. So all you have to do is avoid that wood type. Obviously, if you know you're allergic, or your clients' patients are allergic to certain types of woods, of course we would want to avoid that. But in general, what I'm trying to point out here is to make a blanket statement about volatile oils just overall being toxic, whatever. I would say that look at essential oils. Essential oils are distillations of these various plants. They distill the volatile oils, and what we've seen for a long, long time now, and in a lot of studies, is that essential oils, which are volatile oils that are extracted out, are some of nature's best medicine for humans and for disease applications. Okay? So people are taking, and have been for a very long time, taking volatile oils from plants or trees and healing and curing and treating and whatever, and all these other words the FDA would never want me to use, with actual volatile oils. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay? That at the same time, we have volatile oils over here that are being used as amazing medicine. Like, for example, they're now using it and finding amazingly in hospitals and all these areas, they're having all these sorts of antibiotic resistance. Guess what? No antibiotic resistance issues with some of these oils. So, that's what I have to say for that. And if you have any more questions on this topic, feel free to reach out on my website, healthhacksreview.com. Give me a call, send me an email, and I can help you find the right sauna for your needs. Thanks for watching.